If you had to live your life over and over again, infinitely, every joy, every mistake, every quiet moment, would you be happy with the way you're living now? In tonight's video, we'll explore 50 of the most profound philosophical reflections for a better life. Together, we'll reflect on your purpose, how to find meaning in your days, how to live from love instead of fear, how to let go, and how to grow through everything life gives you. These aren't rules or lessons to memorize. They're reminders, small pieces of timeless wisdom that help you come home to yourself. Each reflection is meant to guide you inward, toward peace, toward clarity, toward a deeper understanding of what it means to live fully. As you listen, allow the words to move slowly. There's nothing to analyze or achieve, only to feel. You can close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the ideas unfold naturally. This is your time to reflect, to relax, and to reconnect with what truly matters. So find a quiet place, settle in, and let's begin with the first reflection. 1. Know thyself. These two ancient words sound simple, but they carry a lifetime of work. Most people think knowing themselves means listing their likes, dislikes, or personality type. But real self-knowledge goes much deeper. It's about noticing what moves you beneath the surface, your fears, desires, and the quiet stories that drive your choices. To know yourself, you have to look honestly at the parts you usually avoid. The anger you hide under humor, the need for validation behind your ambition, the way you chase love that feels familiar, even when it hurts. This kind of truth can sting, but it's also freeing. Because once you see your patterns clearly, you can finally choose something different. Self-knowledge isn't about judging yourself. It's about understanding. It's seeing your reactions without shame, your wounds without excuses, and your strengths without pride. When you understand why you do what you do, life stops feeling like it's just happening to you. You start responding instead of reacting. You start living on purpose. And here's the beauty. When you know yourself, you stop needing to prove yourself. You stop performing for approval. You begin to trust your own rhythm. What feels right, what feels wrong, and what feels true. To know yourself is to come home to yourself. And once you do, you realize that the peace you've been searching for has been inside you all along, waiting to be remembered. 2. The examined life. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." At first, that might sound dramatic, but if you think about it, he wasn't talking about living perfectly. He was talking about living consciously. To examine your life means to pause and pay attention. Most people don't. They move from one distraction to the next, from work to phone to sleep, without ever stopping to ask why they're doing any of it. The days blur together, and years go by before they realize they've been living on autopilot. Self-examination doesn't require a monastery or a meditation retreat. It's as simple as asking honest questions. Why am I really chasing this goal? Does this relationship bring out my best? What part of me is making this choice? My fear or my heart? The examined life isn't about overthinking. It's about seeing. Seeing where your energy goes. Seeing the patterns that repeat. Seeing how your habits shape your emotions and how your emotions shape your world. When you begin to reflect, even a little, things shift. You become less reactive, less controlled by impulse. You start catching yourself before repeating old mistakes. And slowly, you begin to feel a sense of direction. Not one given to you by society, but one that comes from within. Living an examined life means you don't just exist, you participate. You stop drifting and start steering. You start choosing what aligns with truth instead of what simply feels comfortable. And that, more than anything, is what makes life worth living. Not perfection, but awareness. Not certainty, but presence. 3. Be present. Most people live everywhere but here. Their minds are stuck replaying yesterday or rehearsing tomorrow. They think about what they should have said, what they might do next, what could go wrong. And in that constant noise, they miss the only moment that ever truly exists. This one. Presence isn't about forcing your mind to be still. It's about remembering that you already are. It's the art of returning, again and again, to what's right in front of you. The sound of your breath, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the quiet rhythm of your heartbeat reminding you that you're alive right now. When you're present, ordinary moments become sacred. Washing the dishes becomes meditation. Drinking tea becomes prayer. You start to notice details you once overlooked. The softness in someone's tone, the way light moves across the room. You start to realize that peace was never hiding. It was only waiting for your attention. Presence doesn't mean ignoring the past or future. It means seeing them for what they are, memories and possibilities, while staying rooted in what's real. Because when you anchor yourself in the now, life becomes lighter. Your thoughts slow down. Your body relaxes. Time expands. It's impossible to be anxious when you're truly here. The moment you return to presence, fear loses its grip, and gratitude quietly takes its place. So take a breath. Feel it move through you. You're here, and that's enough. 4. Non-attachment. We spend much of life holding on to people, to plans, to identities we've outgrown. We grip them tightly, as if letting go would mean losing ourselves. But what we often discover is that it's the holding on that hurts the most. Non-attachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It's the understanding that everything in life, love, success, even our sense of self, is constantly changing. Trying to freeze what is meant to evolve only creates suffering. When we resist change, we suffer twice. Once from the event itself, and again from our refusal to accept it. But when we loosen our grip, when we allow things to come and go, something beautiful happens. Peace returns. We start to see life as a river, not a possession. People flow in and out, moments rise and fade, and yet the current continues, steady and alive. Non-attachment isn't cold or detached. It's open. It says, I love you, but I don't need to own you. It says, "I appreciate this moment, even though I know it won't last." It's a soft kind of strength, the courage to trust that what's meant to stay will stay, and what's meant to leave will free you. The truth is, everything we lose teaches us how to love more purely. When we stop clutching life so tightly, our hands are finally open to receive, to release, and to rest. 5. Staying centered in yourself. Life will always test your balance. People will misunderstand you, plans will fall apart, and emotions will rise like waves. In those moments, your greatest strength isn't control, it's centeredness. Staying centered means you don't let every emotion pull you off course. You feel them fully: anger, sadness, excitement. But you don't drown in them. You allow emotions to move through you instead of letting them define who you are. Most people live at the edges of themselves. They chase every high, panic at every low, and lose touch with the quiet steadiness at their core. But when you learn to return to that still place inside, the observer who watches without judgment, life starts to feel lighter. You respond instead of react. You listen before you speak. You stay calm even when the world around you isn't. This isn't indifference, it's maturity. It's the discipline of being anchored in clarity while the surface of life keeps shifting. The art of staying centered is a lifelong practice. You won't master it overnight. But with every moment you pause before reacting, you strengthen that inner balance. And you start to realize that peace was never about avoiding storms, but about learning how to stand still within them. 6. You are not your thoughts. The mind never really stops talking. It narrates, judges, compares, remembers, and worries. A constant stream of noise running underneath everything you do. Most people live inside that noise without realizing it. They mistake the voice in their head for who they are. But you are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. When you begin to observe your thoughts instead of being trapped inside them, something powerful happens. Space appears. A small gap between the thought and the one who's aware of it. In that space, peace lives. Clarity lives. Choice lives. You don't control every thought that arises, and you don't need to. Thoughts come and go like clouds passing through the sky. Some are bright, some are dark, but none of them define the sky itself. You are that sky, vast, unbroken, and untouched by the storms that move across it. Learning to watch your thoughts without judging them is the beginning of true freedom. It's not about silencing your mind. It's about realizing you don't have to believe everything it says. When you stop identifying with every story it tells, you stop being pulled in 100 directions. And slowly, your thoughts lose their power to control you. They become what they've always been, just thoughts. And you, at last, remember what's beneath them. Quiet awareness. Still, steady, and free. 7. Impermanence. The beauty of change. Everything you love will change, People will grow. Moments will pass. Even the parts of yourself that feel permanent will quietly shift with time. At first, that truth can feel heavy, like a reminder of everything we might lose. But impermanence isn't just about loss. It's about life moving. It's the rhythm that allows everything beautiful to exist at all. Imagine if nothing ever changed. No seasons, no growth, no new beginnings. Life would be frozen, still, empty. Impermanence gives life its depth. The sunset is beautiful precisely because it fades. The flower is precious because it will wither. The person you love today may change, but so will you. And that's what allows love to evolve instead of staying stuck in the past. When we stop fighting change, we stop suffering twice. Once from the event itself, and again from our resistance to it. The truth is, nothing real is ever lost. It simply transforms. The laughter of youth becomes wisdom. The ending of one chapter opens the space for another. Accepting impermanence doesn't mean detaching from life. It means participating in it fully, knowing each moment is temporary and therefore sacred. You start to hold things more gently, speak more kindly, and appreciate more deeply. Everything you have right now is a fleeting miracle. The breath, the people, the day itself. And the more you remember that, the more beautiful it all becomes. 8. Law of Opposites. Life is built on opposites, light and dark, joy and sorrow, growth and decay. At first, they seem to fight each other. We want one side and reject the other. We want happiness without pain, love without vulnerability, peace without discomfort. But over time, we realize that these opposites aren't enemies. They're partners in the same dance. Without darkness, light means nothing. Without endings, beginnings lose their magic. Every joy you felt has, somewhere in its shadow, the memory of pain that made it possible to feel so deeply. Life's beauty isn't in avoiding contrast. It's in learning to see how both sides complete each other. The mind loves to divide things, good or bad, success or failure, right or wrong. But reality is rarely that simple. A heartbreak can become your greatest teacher. A loss can open you to compassion. A failure can awaken the part of you that refuses to give up. What feels like contradiction is often the universe trying to show you wholeness. When you stop running from opposites, you begin to live in harmony with life instead of trying to edit it. You see that the good and the difficult are woven together, inseparable threads of the same truth. So instead of asking, "How do I get rid of the darkness?" ask, "What is it showing me?" Because only when you can hold both, the joy and the sorrow, the strength and the softness, do you begin to experience the fullness of being alive. 9. The inner observer. There's a part of you that never changes. It doesn't age. It doesn't panic. It doesn't take sides. It's the quiet awareness behind your thoughts, emotions, and actions. The part that simply sees. Most people live identified with their mind. I'm anxious, I'm angry, I'm happy. They merge so fully with these passing states that they forget the one who's watching them unfold. But if you pause, even for a moment, you can feel it. That subtle presence behind everything. The witness, the observer. This awareness isn't distant or cold. It's calm and steady. It notices without judgment, allowing every thought and feeling to rise and fall naturally. When you rest in that observer, life becomes less personal. Not because you don't care, but because you understand that experiences come and go, while the one who sees them remains untouched. You can think of it like the sky watching clouds pass by. The clouds may be heavy or bright, but they never stain the sky. That sky is you, wide, still, and unbroken, no matter what moves through it. When you remember this, your problems shrink back into perspective. You stop drowning in every wave of thought or emotion, and instead, you float in awareness itself. The more you rest as the observer, the more peaceful life becomes, because you're no longer lost inside the story. You're awake within it. 10. Silence reveals truth. There is a kind of wisdom that only appears in silence. Not the silence of an empty room, but the silence that arrives when the noise inside you finally settles. We fill our lives with words, sounds, and movement, anything to avoid stillness. But silence is not emptiness, it's a doorway. Beneath all the thinking, explaining, and striving, there's a quiet knowing that doesn't need to speak to be understood. When you sit in silence long enough, you begin to notice what's real. The body softens, the breath evens out, thoughts lose their urgency, and slowly, something deeper begins to speak. Not in words, but in presence. You realize that truth isn't always something to be found. Sometimes, it's something to stop covering up. Silence reveals what noise hides. It shows you what actually matters and what was just distraction. It connects you back to something timeless, the same awareness that watches your life unfold from the background, patient and steady. This kind of silence doesn't demand that you withdraw from the world. It simply invites you to carry stillness into it, to listen before speaking, to feel before reacting, to let wisdom arise from quiet, not chaos. Because truth isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it whispers. And the only way to hear it is to be still enough to listen. 11. Live in alignment with your values. A peaceful life isn't built through comfort. It's built through alignment. When your actions, words, and values move in the same direction, something in you finally settles. You no longer feel divided inside. Most of our suffering comes from living out of sync with what we know to be true. We say yes when we mean no. We stay silent when something in us wants to speak. We chase things that look good but don't feel right. Each small compromise chips away at our sense of wholeness. Living in alignment doesn't mean perfection. It means honesty. It's asking yourself, is this choice true for me? And having the courage to listen. Sometimes that answer will cost you approval or comfort, but the price of betraying yourself is always higher. When you start living according to your values, even in small ways, life gains weight and clarity. Decisions become easier. Relationships feel cleaner. You stop needing to perform because you've already chosen peace over pretending. Integrity isn't about being flawless, it's about being real. And when your inner world and outer actions finally match, you realize that alignment isn't just a moral idea, it's medicine for the soul. 12. Live life with virtue. The ancient philosophers believed virtue, living with wisdom, courage, and kindness, was life's highest purpose. Not wealth, not fame, not pleasure, but character. Virtue isn't about moral superiority, it's about harmony. It's what happens when your thoughts, actions, and intentions line up with truth. It's knowing that how you do something matters just as much as what you do. Courage teaches you to do what's right, even when it's hard. Wisdom reminds you to pause before reacting. Compassion softens your strength so it doesn't turn into pride. Modern life often teaches the opposite, that success means winning, that kindness is weakness, that ends justify means. But deep down, everyone craves integrity. It's why we admire people who stand for something even when it costs them. Their peace isn't dependent on outcome. It's born from inner alignment. Virtue doesn't always feel glamorous. It's quiet. It looks like doing what you said you'd do, owning your mistakes, speaking truth even when your voice shakes. These small acts form a kind of invisible wealth, one that can't be taken or faked. When you live with virtue, you sleep better. Not because life is perfect, but because your conscience is clear. 13. Take responsibility. Many people fear responsibility because it feels heavy, but responsibility isn't punishment, it's power. It's the act of saying, I am capable of responding to life, instead of waiting for someone else to fix it. Avoiding responsibility might feel freeing at first, but it quietly weakens you. You start to feel lost, resentful, and powerless. Every time you take ownership, even of small things, you reclaim that power. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being a participant in your own growth. Responsibility matures the soul. It teaches patience, humility, and follow-through. It grounds your freedom in structure, turning potential into something real. Without it, even the best intentions dissolve into excuses. True responsibility isn't about controlling everything. It's about responding with awareness. It's asking, what can I do right now that's within my control? And doing that with presence and integrity. The weight of responsibility is what builds character. It's not meant to crush you, but to shape you into someone trustworthy, capable, and free. 14. Choose courage. Fear will always be part of life. You can't erase it, but you can walk with it. That's what courage really is, moving forward while afraid. Most people wait for fear to disappear before taking action. But courage doesn't come after fear. It comes through it. Every time you face something uncomfortable, a hard truth, a new challenge, a vulnerable conversation, you expand what's possible for you. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's quiet. The moment you speak your truth, end what's unhealthy, or take a step into the unknown. Every act of courage rewires your nervous system to trust yourself more deeply. Avoiding fear keeps life small. Facing it opens doors that comfort never could. And the more you practice courage, the less power fear has over you. Not because it's gone, but because you've learned that you're larger than it. Courage doesn't eliminate fear. It transforms it into strength. It's how your soul learns to breathe in wider spaces. 15. Lead with love. Love isn't just a feeling. It's a way of seeing. It's choosing to treat people and yourself with kindness, even when it's inconvenient. Real love is not sentimental. It's not about liking everyone or avoiding conflict. It's about willing the good of the other, even when it costs you something. Love without truth becomes weakness, and truth without love becomes cruelty. The balance of the two is what gives love its strength. The more love you give, the more you understand it's not something you run out of. It's something you create. Love expands as you practice it, in how you speak, listen, forgive, and show up. Every act of genuine love, whether it's patience, honesty, or compassion, strengthens the world a little. And it strengthens you. Because each time you choose love over pride, you align yourself with the highest part of your nature. In the end, love isn't an emotion to chase. It's a way of being that turns ordinary life into something sacred. 16. Be honest with yourself. It's easy to lie to others, but the hardest person to stay honest with is yourself. Self-deception often wears the mask of optimism or reason. I'm fine. It's not that bad. It'll work itself out. But deep down, you know when something isn't true. That quiet knowing in your chest never lies. It just waits for you to stop pretending. Being honest with yourself doesn't mean being harsh. It means being willing to see clearly. Your desires, your fears, your motives. It's admitting when something isn't working, when you've stayed too long, when you've outgrown what once felt right. This kind of honesty is uncomfortable at first because it exposes what you've been avoiding. But it's also liberating. Once you face the truth, you no longer waste energy keeping illusions alive. You can finally move forward. You can't build a peaceful life on lies, even small ones. So let honesty become your anchor. Speak truth to yourself before you demand it from anyone else. It will hurt less than denial, and it will heal more than pretending ever could. 17. Act with integrity. Integrity is what you do when no one is watching. It's following your values even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you something. It's being the same person in private as you are in public. Without integrity, there's no real peace. You can achieve everything you dream of and still feel hollow inside. But when your actions and values align, you walk lighter. You stop explaining yourself to others because your life quietly speaks for you. Integrity doesn't mean perfection. It means accountability. When you make a mistake, you own it. When you promise something, you follow through. When you say no, it means no. People may not always agree with you, but they'll trust you. because they can feel that your words carry weight. Integrity is the invisible backbone of a meaningful life. It turns fleeting success into lasting respect. And in the end, that respect, both from others and from yourself, becomes one of the truest forms of peace. 18. Character over reputation. Character is who you are. Reputation is what others think you are. Reputation can be edited by angles, timing, and trends. It can rise and fall with rumors, likes, and the last thing you posted. It's fragile because it lives outside you. Character is different. It's the quiet pattern of your choices when no one's watching. It's the weight of your word, the way you handle power, and the care you show when there's nothing to gain. Chasing reputation breeds anxiety. You start performing for approval, explaining yourself, and shaping your life around impressions. Building character brings peace. You act from values, accept consequences, and let your life speak for itself. Reputation follows character the way a shadow follows the body. Not always immediately, not always accurately, but eventually. Character is formed in small moments. Telling the truth when it's inconvenient, keeping a promise when it's boring, apologizing without excuses, choosing fairness over advantage, and practicing restraint when impulse wants the mic. These moves don't go viral. They go inward and make you solid. Let reputation be a byproduct, not the goal. Guard the inner life that no one sees. Your honesty, your discipline, your compassion, your consistency. Over time, character quietly builds a reputation you don't have to defend. When you must choose between seeming good and being good, choose being good. Reputation can be taken. Character can be trusted. 19. Find inner justice. We all want the world to be fair, for truth to win, for kindness to be rewarded, for good people to get what they deserve. But justice doesn't start in systems or governments. It starts inside each of us. When your mind is divided, when resentment, pride, or fear rule your thoughts, you can't create harmony outside yourself. The world becomes a mirror for your inner state. You see chaos because you feel chaos. You fight for fairness while secretly judging others. Real justice begins when you bring balance to your own inner world. Inner justice is when your thoughts, words, and actions work together instead of against each other. It's when you stop betraying your own values for comfort or approval. When your decisions come from clarity, not reaction. When you can hold both firmness and compassion in the same breath. From that place, you naturally bring more fairness into the world, not because you're trying to control it, but because you've become a source of balance yourself. You listen better. You judge less. You act with integrity instead of impulse. The world becomes more just every time one person chooses to live in truth rather than anger. Peace outside will never last if there's war within. So start there. Create harmony in your own soul first. From that stillness, everything else begins to align. 20. Make love your highest principle. Philosophers and mystics have long said that love is the highest form of ethics, the guiding force behind all that is good. To love, in its truest sense, is not just to feel affection or attraction, it's to will the good of another. Real love asks for clarity, not comfort. It requires maturity, the ability to see beyond self-interest and act from what's right, not just what feels good. Love isn't blind. It sees everything clearly and chooses goodness anyway. When love becomes your guiding principle, morality stops being a set of rules and starts being a way of being. You naturally treat others with dignity, patience, and care. You tell the truth, not to prove you're right, but to protect what's real. You forgive, not because it's easy, but because holding on to resentment poisons the heart that carries it. Love expands the soul. It turns duty into devotion and justice into compassion. It doesn't erase boundaries. It strengthens them with kindness. It doesn't deny pain. It transforms it into understanding. To make love your highest principle is to align yourself with the deepest truth of existence. That goodness, at its core, is not something you earn. It's something you give. 21. Find your why. A life without meaning quickly turns into survival. When you have a why, a reason to live, a direction to move toward, you can endure almost anything. But when life feels empty, even the smallest obstacle can feel unbearable. Meaning doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It can be as simple as caring for someone, creating something beautiful, or learning to live with more honesty. What matters is that it feels real to you, that it gives your days a sense of direction and your struggles a sense of purpose. You can't always control what happens, but you can decide what it means. You can choose to see pain as growth, endings as new beginnings, and challenges as teachers. The meaning you assign shapes how you experience everything. Your why doesn't need to be perfect or permanent. It can change with seasons, as you do. What matters is that you have one. Something that keeps your soul engaged with life, even when it's difficult. When you find that why and live from it, the how takes care of itself. 22. Rise beyond yourself. There's a part of you that resists growth, the part that clings to comfort, pride, or old habits. Self-overcoming means rising above that part. It's the quiet, daily work of outgrowing who you were yesterday. Nietzsche called it the path of the higher self, not because it makes you better than others, but because it brings you closer to your potential. You stop asking, "How do I win?" and start asking, "How do I evolve?" Self-overcoming is not a single victory. It's a lifelong practice of awareness and discipline. You notice your impulses, your fears, your patterns, and instead of judging them, you use them as material for transformation. Every time you act from wisdom instead of ego, you rise. Every time you choose patience over pride, you grow stronger. Progress doesn't come from perfection, but from persistence, from showing up again and again for your own evolution. The true goal isn't to become flawless, it's to become whole. 23. Live with purpose. Everything in nature has an aim, a reason for being. The sun warms, the river flows, The tree grows toward light. You too have an inner direction. Living with purpose means aligning your life with it, instead of drifting through distractions and demands. Purpose doesn't always reveal itself in one big moment. Sometimes it's found through action, through doing, learning, adjusting. You find meaning by engaging with life, not by waiting for clarity to appear. Ask yourself, what feels meaningful to me? What kind of energy do I want to leave behind? Your answers might change, but they'll always point you closer to your truth. A purposeful life doesn't mean every day feels extraordinary. It means even ordinary days carry intention. You live with direction, not just motion. You move toward what matters, even in small, quiet ways. When you live with purpose, you stop chasing happiness and start creating fulfillment. 24. Create more than you consume. Consumption is easy. Creation is sacred. We live in a world designed to keep us distracted, scrolling, watching, comparing. But every time you create instead of consume, you reclaim your energy. You shift from passive observer to active participant in your own life. Creating doesn't just mean art or business. It means adding something valuable to the world. A kind word, a new idea, a moment of care. Creation is contribution. It's how we leave traces of meaning behind. Consuming fills you temporarily. Creating fulfills you deeply. It reminds you that you have something to offer, that you can shape life instead of being shaped by it. When you make something, even something small, you prove to yourself that your presence matters. You transform chaos into order, thought into form, potential into reality. So create, not for attention, but for aliveness. Because creation is how the soul breathes. 25. Learn from pain. Suffering is not punishment. It's instruction. It's the body and soul's way of showing where growth is needed, where truth is missing, or where something must change. Pain strips away illusions. It humbles the ego and forces presence. While comfort keeps you asleep, suffering wakes you up. It brings you closer to what's real, your limits, your needs, your capacity to heal. Most people resist pain or try to escape it, but every attempt to avoid it makes it last longer. When you face pain with awareness, it starts to transform. You begin to see that it's not here to destroy you, but to refine you. Every heartbreak teaches you about love. Every failure teaches you about humility. Every loss reminds you of what truly matters. Suffering carves the space where compassion can grow. So when pain comes, meet it with curiosity. Ask it what it's trying to teach you. And listen, because hidden inside the ache is often the exact wisdom your soul has been asking for. 26. Love your fate. Everything that happens, the joy, the heartbreak, the failure, the surprise, can serve your growth if you let it. To love your fate doesn't mean enjoying every moment. It means trusting that even the hardest moments belong to your path. We often waste energy wishing life were different, replaying what could have been, or blaming what went wrong. But when you accept life as it is, without resistance, something shifts. The same events that once felt unfair begin to reveal meaning. Pain becomes perspective. Loss becomes wisdom. Loving your fate is not passive acceptance, it's active participation. It's saying, I will make something of this. It's refusing to let circumstances define you and choosing to turn every experience into strength. When you stop fighting what is, you stop suffering twice. Once from the event, and again from your resistance to it. You learn that even detours can lead you home. Amor fati, love your fate, is the art of saying yes to life. Not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. 27. Be authentic. Authenticity means living in alignment with your inner truth, even when it's inconvenient, even when it sets you apart. It's choosing honesty over approval, depth over image, and self-respect over fitting in. We learn early to adapt, to say what people want to hear, to hide what feels too strange or too real. But every time you betray your truth for acceptance, you lose a little of your aliveness. Authenticity brings it back. To live authentically is to live simply, to say yes when you mean yes and no when you mean no. It's listening to your intuition, speaking your truth gently, and allowing others to see the real you, not the version you think they'll prefer. Authenticity doesn't mean constant expression. It means consistent honesty. You don't need to announce who you are. You just need to live it. When you stop pretending, life becomes clearer. You attract what belongs, release what doesn't, and finally feel at home in your own skin. 28. Master yourself. Freedom is not the absence of limits. It's the mastery of self within them. You can't always control what happens, but you can always choose your attitude, your focus, and your response. That is where real freedom lives. Many chase external freedom, more time, more money, more options. But even then, they feel trapped. Why? Because the mind remains their master. The moment you depend on circumstances for peace, you lose it. Self-mastery begins with awareness. It's noticing your impulses, your emotions, your reactions, and choosing consciously instead of automatically. It's the quiet discipline of directing your energy rather than being ruled by it. When you master yourself, freedom follows. You become steady in the middle of uncertainty. You act with intention instead of impulse. You stop being a prisoner of mood, habit, or fear. Freedom isn't out there. It's the strength to stay centered, no matter where you are. 29. Your actions define you. You are not a fixed identity. You are a work in progress. Sartre said, "Existence precedes essence." You aren't born with a defined meaning. You create it through choice and action. Many people wait to find themselves. But who you are is not something hidden. It's something built. Every decision you make adds shape to your character. Every risk, every failure, every act of honesty defines you a little more. The freedom to choose is both a burden and a gift. It means you can't blame fate or labels for who you've become. But it also means you hold the power to redefine yourself at any moment. Your actions are your essence in motion. You reveal yourself through what you do, not what you intend. So act with clarity. Act with courage. Act in alignment with who you want to be. Meaning isn't waiting for you. It's waiting on you. 30. Become who you are. Deep down, you already know who you could be. There's a version of you that feels alive, grounded, and real. The person you glimpse in rare moments of truth or flow. Becoming who you are means bringing that version to life. Most people spend their lives performing for parents, partners, or society, wearing masks they've long outgrown. But pretending drains the soul. Growth begins when you stop acting and start remembering who you've always been beneath the noise. Becoming yourself isn't about adding more. It's about peeling away what's false. The fears, the expectations, the borrowed beliefs. What remains is something simple, honest, and powerful. This journey never ends. It's not a finish line, but a deepening. A return to your essence again and again. The more you align with that truth, the more life feels natural, as if you finally stop swimming against your own current. You don't need to find yourself. You need to become yourself, one honest choice at a time. 31. Accept what you can't control. Peace begins the moment you stop fighting what you can't change. Life will never bend perfectly to your will. People will surprise you, plans will shift, and outcomes will unfold their own way. The Stoics knew that suffering often comes not from events themselves, but from our resistance to them. Acceptance isn't passive. It doesn't mean giving up. It means using your energy wisely, focusing on what's within your control and releasing what's not. You can't control other people's actions, but you can control your response. You can't control the weather, but you can choose how you meet the storm. When you stop trying to control everything, you create space for calm. You see life as it is, not as your mind insists it must be. Paradoxically, that's when you become more effective, because your energy is no longer wasted on struggle. Acceptance turns chaos into clarity. It's not weakness, it's wisdom in motion. 32. See beyond the ego. The ego is a story you tell yourself. The idea of me that constantly needs to be right, important, and in control. It's the voice that compares, defends, and fears being small. But it's not who you truly are. When you live from ego, you're trapped in separation, always protecting, proving, and chasing validation. The ego feeds on identity, but your essence doesn't need one. Beneath all your roles and titles, there's something simpler. Pure awareness, calm and unshaken. Seeing through the ego doesn't mean rejecting yourself. It means realizing you're more than your story. You can still play your roles, partner, creator, friend, but you no longer mistake them for your whole being. The less you cling to me, the more peaceful life becomes. You stop taking everything personally. You stop needing to win every argument. You stop measuring your worth through others' eyes. Ego screams. Awareness observes. The moment you remember that difference, you return to freedom. 33. Stay balanced. Balance isn't about making life perfect. It's about meeting it as it comes without losing your center. Equanimity is the calm that comes from seeing the bigger picture. You stop swinging between extremes, overjoyed when things go your way, destroyed when they don't. You begin to stand steady through both. This doesn't mean indifference. It means maturity. You still feel everything: joy, pain, excitement, disappointment. But you no longer get swept away by any of it. You learn to surf the waves instead of drowning in them. Balance is built through awareness and patience. You pause before reacting. You breathe before deciding. You learn to trust that everything, even the difficult, has its place. The reward is peace that doesn't depend on conditions. When life rises and falls, you rise and fall with it, lightly, calmly, and whole. 34. Lead with compassion. Compassion is not weakness. It's strength that understands. It's seeing yourself and others clearly, without judgment, and choosing kindness anyway. We often think strength means hardness, staying detached, staying in control. But true strength includes tenderness. It takes courage to open your heart in a world that often rewards indifference. Compassion begins with yourself. When you stop treating your own mistakes as failures and start treating them as lessons, you naturally become gentler toward others. You see that everyone is fighting invisible battles, just as you are. Compassion doesn't mean letting others walk over you. It means responding from understanding instead of reactivity. You can set boundaries and still be kind. You can disagree and still care. A compassionate heart doesn't make you soft. It makes you human. And in a divided world, that's one of the bravest things you can be. 35. Live simply. Simplicity isn't about owning less. It's about needing less. It's clearing the noise so what's meaningful can breathe. We fill our lives with things, goals, and distractions, believing they'll make us feel complete. But simplicity reminds us that peace doesn't come from addition. It comes from subtraction. The fewer unnecessary things you chase, the more space you have for what truly matters: presence, connection, purpose. Living simply means slowing down. It means saying no to what drains you and yes to what nourishes you. It's choosing depth over speed, clarity over clutter, quality over quantity. When your outer life becomes simpler, your inner life follows. You begin to notice the small joys again: the warmth of sunlight, a deep breath, a meaningful conversation. Simplicity isn't about deprivation, it's about freedom. And in that freedom, you rediscover the quiet fullness of being alive. 36. Need less, live free. Desire can drive you forward, but it can also chain you. The more you think you need to be happy, the less free you become. The world constantly teaches you to want more. More success, more comfort, more recognition. But every new desire becomes another condition for peace, I'll be happy when. The truth is, you already have what you need to feel whole. It's just buried beneath layers of wanting. Moderating desire doesn't mean rejecting ambition or pleasure. It means noticing when craving turns into dependence, when what you own begins to own you. Freedom is not found in having everything, but in needing less. When you loosen your grip on wanting, life opens. Gratitude replaces comparison. Contentment replaces craving. You start to enjoy things for what they are, not for how they make you look or what they promise to fix. Need less, not to limit your life, but to live it fully, freely, and enough. 37. Find peace through understanding. Everything you don't understand has power over you. Fear, anger, and anxiety often come from confusion, from not seeing clearly what's really happening. But when you take time to understand, that power dissolves. Understanding brings tranquility because it turns chaos into meaning. The moment you grasp why something feels the way it does, it stops controlling you. Awareness transforms reaction into response. This applies to everything: your emotions, your relationships, even your pain. When you understand your anger, you discover what it's protecting. When you understand your sadness, you uncover what you valued. When you understand another person's behavior, even if you don't agree with it, you find empathy instead of resentment. Understanding doesn't excuse what's wrong, but it reveals what's real. And once something is seen clearly, it loses its power to disturb you. Clarity brings calm, and calm gives you back your strength. 38. Forgive to be free. Forgiveness is not about excusing what happened. It's about freeing yourself from it. Holding on to resentment feels like protection, but it's really a prison. You keep the past alive inside you, reliving what you wish had been different. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or trusting again. It means releasing your need to rewrite what's already written. It's saying, "This hurt me, but it no longer defines me." When you forgive, you stop giving your energy to pain and start giving it to healing. You reclaim your power from the person or event that took it. You realize that the real gift of forgiveness isn't peace with them, it's peace with yourself. Forgiveness is a practice, not a moment. Some wounds need time, but each small step toward letting go is an act of liberation. You can't change the past, but you can stop carrying it. 39. Practice gratitude. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most powerful shifts you can make. It turns ordinary moments into blessings and brings light into places that once felt heavy. It's easy to overlook what's already good: your breath, your safety, the people who care for you, the chance to begin again. Gratitude trains your mind to notice abundance instead of absence. You don't need a perfect life to feel thankful. You just need a present mind. Every day holds quiet gifts: a sunrise, a laugh, a moment of rest. When you pause to recognize them, life feels richer. Not because more was added, but because less was taken for granted. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it balances it. It reminds you that even in struggle, there's something worth cherishing. Make it a practice. List 3 things daily. Say thank you often, to others, to yourself, to life. Gratitude turns perception into peace. 40. Don't fear death. One day, your time here will end. It's not something to fear. It's something to remember. Because remembering that life is temporary makes it infinitely more precious. We live as if time is endless, postponing joy, honesty, and love. But awareness of death sharpens awareness of life. It reminds you to say what matters, to let go of grudges, to savor the moments that pass quietly but never return. Memento mori, remember you will die, isn't a dark thought. It's a wake-up call. It frees you from wasting time on things that don't matter. It helps you see that the small annoyances, the insecurities, the endless chase for more, none of it lasts, and none of it's worth losing your peace over. When you live with death in mind, you don't become morbid, you become sincere. You stop postponing living. You love deeper, speak truer, and live lighter. Death awareness isn't about endings. It's about urgency. The kind that makes every breath mean something. 41. Everything is connected. Every thought, action, and breath moves through the same web of life. You're not just an observer of the world. You're part of its heartbeat. It's easy to forget this in daily life. You wake up, check your phone, move through routines, and feel separate, as if your story exists alone. But the truth is, nothing stands alone. The food you eat, the air you breathe, the words you speak, all come from countless lives and causes intertwining in ways beyond comprehension. When you begin to see the threads that connect everything, compassion naturally grows. You act with more awareness because you understand that every choice ripples outward. What you give returns. What you harm, you share in. Seeing the world as connected changes how you live. It brings humility, reverence, and a sense of belonging. You stop moving through life as a separate self and start moving as part of something vast, alive, and beautifully whole. 42. You are not separate. The greatest illusion is the belief that you are separate from others, from nature, from life itself. The ego says, me and them, this and that, mine and yours. But the deeper truth is that everything arises together, like waves on the same ocean. When you see yourself as separate, fear and conflict grow. You compete, defend, and feel alone. But when you recognize the unity beneath difference, peace emerges. The boundaries soften. You start to feel what mystics and poets have always known, that all things share one essence. This realization doesn't erase individuality, it deepens it. You still have your unique form, voice, and purpose, but you carry them lightly, knowing they're part of something greater. When you remember you are not separate, compassion becomes natural, not forced. You see yourself in others. You stop trying to dominate life and start flowing with it. In truth, there is no other. There is only one vast life, meeting itself in endless forms, including you. 43. Be before you do. The world rewards doing. It celebrates productivity, results, and motion. But being always comes first. Who you are, your state of mind, your intention, your presence, shapes everything you do. Two people can perform the same action, one from fear, one from love. One creates chaos, the other creates peace. The difference is not in the action, but in the being behind it. Before rushing to act, pause and return to yourself. Ask, from where in me is this coming? When your doing flows from stillness instead of anxiety, from alignment instead of pressure, it carries a different energy, one that nourishes rather than drains. You are not a machine built only to achieve. You are a soul built to express truth through action. Doing without being is noise. Being before doing is music. Let your actions arise naturally from presence, and everything you do will carry peace within it. 44. Let truth unfold. Truth is not a fixed destination. It's a living process. What you see today may not be what you see tomorrow. As your awareness deepens, so does your understanding of truth. We often cling to certainty because it feels safe. But the moment you think you've found the final truth, growth stops. Real wisdom requires openness, the humility to say, I might be wrong, and the curiosity to keep learning. Truth evolves with consciousness. The more you awaken, the more you see, and the more gently you hold your beliefs. Dogma divides, discovery unites. Let truth be alive within you. Let it challenge you, soften you, and move you forward. Don't fear the unknown. It's the space where deeper clarity waits. Truth isn't something you own, it's something you grow into. And every step toward greater awareness brings you closer to it. 45. Surrender to life. The more you try to control life, the more it slips away. You can't force people, time, or outcomes to obey your will. Control feels powerful, but it's rooted in fear. The fear that without it, things will fall apart. Paradoxically, real power begins where control ends. When you surrender, you stop wasting energy resisting what's already happening. You align with life's flow instead of fighting it. You still act, still choose, still care, but with less tension and more trust. Surrender is not giving up. It's giving in to what is real. It's saying yes to the present moment, even if it's not what you planned. That yes brings peace, and often surprising clarity. When you release the need to control, you gain something greater: calm, creativity, and strength that comes from cooperation with life rather than domination over it. Surrender is not the end of power. It's the beginning of peace. 46. Life beyond logic. Logic is a brilliant tool, but it can only take you so far. It explains, measures, and predicts. But life isn't just a problem to solve. Some truths can only be felt. Reason alone can't capture love, beauty, or meaning. You can't calculate why a song moves you or why silence can feel holy. These things belong to another form of knowing, intuition, the quiet, wordless understanding that comes from the heart, not the mind. Trusting your intuition doesn't mean rejecting reason. It means completing it. Both are part of your intelligence. Logic helps you build a life that works. Intuition helps you build a life that feels true. There's wisdom in analysis, but there's also wisdom in stillness, in listening to what you simply know without knowing how. Let reason guide your steps, but let intuition choose the direction. 47. Embrace stillness. Stillness is not the absence of life. It's the space that makes life whole. In the quiet, your soul expands. You begin to hear what the noise of the world has been drowning out. Your intuition, your truth, your peace. We fill our days with motion because stillness feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. But growth rarely happens in chaos. It happens in moments of pause, when you stop running long enough to let insight catch up to you. Stillness teaches you to listen, not to the world, but to the quiet intelligence within it. It reminds you that peace is not something you earn, it's something you allow. Spend time in silence, walk slowly, breathe deeply. The more you learn to rest in stillness, the more you realize that nothing essential was ever missing. Growth doesn't always look like movement. Sometimes it looks like stillness and trust. 48. Beauty in the ordinary. Most people search for meaning in faraway places, in temples, mountains, or extraordinary experiences. But the sacred is not somewhere else. It's right here, hidden inside the ordinary moments you often overlook. It's in the warmth of morning light, the rhythm of your breath, the sound of laughter, the stillness after rain. The ordinary becomes sacred when you give it your full attention. Presence is what transforms the mundane into the miraculous. You don't need a spiritual experience to feel connected. You just need to notice what's already here. The more present you are, the more alive everything becomes. When you stop rushing, the world reveals its quiet beauty. You see that enlightenment isn't a place you arrive at, but a way of seeing. A reverence for the simple fact of being alive. The sacred isn't somewhere else. It's this, right now, waiting to be seen. 49. Make life your art. Your life is your greatest creation. Every choice, every moment, every breath is a brushstroke on the canvas of your becoming. Living as an artist doesn't mean chasing perfection. It means creating with intention. It's about shaping your days with awareness, crafting meaning from chaos, and seeing beauty even in imperfection. Art isn't limited to painting or music. It's how you speak, love, and move through the world. It's the energy you bring into every space you enter. When you live deliberately, even the simplest things, cooking a meal, speaking truth, caring for someone, become art. You don't control every color that appears on your canvas, but you decide how to respond to them. You can turn mistakes into texture, pain into depth, and uncertainty into inspiration. Life becomes art when you live it consciously. So paint bravely and let your masterpiece be your presence. 50. Live as if you'd choose it again. Imagine living this life, every joy, every mistake, every heartbreak, over and over again for eternity. Would you live differently? Nietzsche called this the idea of eternal recurrence, the challenge to live so honestly and completely that you would choose this same life again, just as it is. It's not about perfection. It's about embracing life fully, the beauty and the pain, the light and the dark, and saying yes to all of it. When you live as if you'd choose it again, you stop postponing meaning. You stop waiting for ideal conditions. You become fully present in the life that's already yours. This thought is not a burden. It's a compass. It reminds you that every moment matters, that the way you speak, love, and act today echoes far beyond now. Live so that if time repeated forever, you'd be proud to relive this day, not because it was perfect, but because it was true.